The brunt of the worst weather is now working over Bonita Springs. Bonita Springs, it's time for you to take cover. You're already doing that. We told you to be in your safe spot. Thank you for being there. Rob Duns has some live video from Bonita on Lynx 1.
Yeah, if the control room could take a Lynx 1 full. I just had an NBC2 and ABC7 viewer send me this link. This is a live stream from his house in Bonita Springs. That is a live picture showing you what is happening right now as the eye wall of this Category 3 hurricane begins to swing in toward the Bonita Springs area as it moves toward the north into South Lee County. It looks like we could be having some connection issues there, but that is a live picture that you were looking at happening right now as we speak in Bonita Springs through South Lee County. So why don't we jump back over to the my gosh, look at that. For the radio listeners, it's just remarkable to see how these palm trees behave in such ferocious winds. We're talking about winds, Robert, that we've measured at 130 now. Yep. And remarkable how these trees are able to hold up. And once again, in this live perspective in Lee County from the city of Bonita Springs, you don't see a whole lot of debris flying through the air. We're not seeing billboards and that sort of thing, at least at this point in time. So, we're riding out things pretty well here, I guess we'll say, from these very small images that we're able to bring you in piecemeal here across areas of Lee County. But there again, a live perspective happening right now in the city of Bonita Springs in South Lee County as the eye wall of this ferocious hurricane continues to drift toward the north. Robert?
We'd have every reason to assume that those winds right there are probably on the order of 70 to 80 miles per hour. We would also see, you can look how the visibility obscures as some of the stronger winds come in. You can see that we're talking about sheets of rain going in front of that camera. It's pretty incredible, really, that we've got a live feed there from Bonita Springs. So to our viewer that sent us that link, wow, thank you so much. This really shows you, though, what's right over Bonita Springs now. For you folks listening to us, we're looking at some incredible wind and blowing wind-driven rain, trees continuing to just be whipped around. We know of many trees that are already down in the area, but the Bonita Springs area is right under the gun. North Naples, you're still seeing the end of it, but give it about 15 more minutes, and even toward Immokalee and 111th, it'll be getting better. The satellite loop, radio listeners, the satellite loop is showing this eye wall moving up into Bonita, now getting ready to move right over Estero, Coconut Point, and out toward Estero Bay. This is a pretty expansive area of serious weather here, and I'll do a distance tracker on it just to give you an idea from one side to the other. Just this core of storms is about 35 miles long and almost 12 to 15 miles wide. So this is going to last a little bit.
I'll pick things up here for just a moment then. As Robert is pointing out here, we're talking about the advent of these hurricane force winds as the eye wall begins to roll into areas of Bonita Springs. A closer inspection of the radar shows that right now, for the time being, at least the heaviest of the rain, the most intense part of the wind is moving over top of the old 41 road here, which is just to the north of East Terry Street. So right now, you are absolutely hunkered down here in Bonita Springs as the worst of this initial eye wall continues to drift toward the north. If you were to visualize this, the hurricane is essentially moving parallel to US 41 and Interstate 75. So for the time being, the absolute worst of this is impacting the city of Bonita Springs, as you can see live there on the other side of your screen. A wider perspective of the radar, and what I'll do here is I'll put it into a lapse mode so you can see the general evolution of the worst of this hurricane's forward speed here. There's a lapse of the radar, so you can see that everything continues to drift toward the north as it's eventually here in very, very short order going to be arriving in areas including the cities of Estero, the northern side of Bonita Springs. Let me zoom the radar in so you can see it a bit easier here. So if you're watching us right now in cities including San Carlos Park, especially along into the south of Alico Road, which is right here, this is the Corkscrew Road interchange with Interstate 75. Right there, of course, is US 41 Tamiami Trail. The worst of this initial push of the eye wall is lifting toward the north, so you absolutely have to be hunkered down in your safest spot in the entire house right now. If you're watching us anywhere Alico Road into the south, if you have not gone through the full brunt, you will, of the eye wall pushing through here. Let me zoom back out so we can grab a wider perspective of the radar. It looks like we're picking up on even a small rotation there over inland Collier. One of the another concern that happens, of course, when tornadoes or when hurricanes make landfall are these spin-up tornadoes that sometimes do develop. So as of right now, we're suggesting some rotation here in very inland sections of Collier County. This is well to the southeast of Golden Gate Estates. But as you can see, it is a possibility here that even over the more urbanized areas of Collier County and eventually into Lee County, these spin-up tornadoes can occur as the eye wall continues to lift toward the north. Again, this, as my colleague meteorologist Jim Dickey puts a forward speed storm track on here, this part will be moving toward the northwest. So this is all lifting into areas of Golden Gate Estates. Jim, if we could, why don't we zoom in toward the estates and see what's happening. There's a lot of hurricane shelters here in this part. I know there's one out here in the far eastern side of Golden Gate Estates, and there of course is one toward Golden Gate High School, which is just to the north of the Alligator Alley area near the toll booth. This is all lifting toward the north right now, so the actual brunt of the hurricane force winds, the max intensity hurricane force winds, is lifting over top of the Golden Gate shelter as we speak. So if you're watching on your smartphone device or on a TV, if there's still power there at the shelter, you're going through the worst of it right now. But for the time being, the concerns will be shifting here toward areas like North Naples and toward Bonita Springs. Why don't we zoom back in over this area, Jim, to dig at a... Yes, that's very close to, for our radio listeners, again, we're talking about areas close to the intersection of West Terry Street and Old 41. That would be to the north of Dean Street and basically right along Imperial Parkway. Of course, that's a big parkway that goes parallel to Interstate 75. The brunt of these max intensity hurricane force winds lifting through your community as we speak, and everything drifting toward the north. So right there for your reference point would be the Coconut Point Mall area along Coconut Road to the south of Williams Road. As Robert had mentioned, this is very close to the new headquarters of the Hertz car rental company there, to give you some perspective. You'll also notice there you saw the marker there, Germain Arena. If you could, Jim, zoom into where Germain and Alico arenas are. A lot of people, tens of thousands, are riding out this hurricane in the arena right there and the arena that's to the north at the campus of FGCU. The worst of it is about to arrive here. We would probably say in less than 5 minutes. I think it's fair to say that the brunt of these hurricane force winds will be over top of the hurricane shelters at Alico Arena and Germain Arena. So everyone right now, if they're able to hear our voice, that needs to be hunkered down in the safest place of those two arenas, as the brunt of the hurricane force winds along the initial leading edge of the eye wall continues to drift toward the north. Why don't I step out of the view here and we'll go back to that live camera from Bonita Springs. Chief Meteorologist of ABC7, John Patrick, is here with me. John, would you like to take the reins there?
Yeah, sure. I want to go to ABC7's links one box over at the wall, and I want to go ahead and you guys were showing the radar picture. I want to talk about the winds that are out there that we're picking up here in a mode that we call velocity mode. And you can see right in here, we're looking at around Bonita Springs at 102 miles per hour, 107, 109 over here. Down to the south, we are looking at the onshore wind. We're talking about the storm surge event beginning around southwest Florida, and you can see the minus sign here. This is part of the eye, kind of still calm, but you can see minus 71. Ignore the minus sign there. We're getting a 71 mile an hour wind to a 90 mile an hour wind here on Marco Island. This is the onshore wind that's going to start the storm surge, and it's already started here on Marco Island. We're looking at not as strong of a wind, but still hurricane force winds, especially on the south side of Marco Island at the present time. The wind actually lightens up as you get a little bit closer to the eye up toward Belmead, but keep in mind this is all drifting off to the north, so your wind is going to pick up here in short order across that area of Marco Island. And again, we're looking at 70 to 85 mile per hour winds around Marco Island at the present time. Let me go ahead and show you some of the radar information that we have here. If we can take the NBC2 Doppler radar, we showed you a moment ago some of those winds over 100, probably approaching 120 miles per hour here, rolling up towards Estero, Germain Arena, San Carlos Park, right around Alico Road, as we mentioned, the Gulf Coast Town Center. Those winds I was just showing you are on Marco Island, and they'll be sneaking up toward the Isles of Capri. Again, not as strong as these winds right here, but we are going to be looking at those winds approaching 90 miles per hour over Marco Island. We're in severe weather mode here, and as we track things around the North Naples area, we can show you and plot some various things going on here. We're looking at, again, winds topping 80 miles per hour here around North Naples and into the south side of Bonita Springs here still. But we showed you on the other map some winds that are looking like around over 100 miles per hour. And that will continue here as we go through the next about 30 minutes. And then right around Bonita Springs, you'll get into the eye wall, and that'll be an area of relatively calm weather. It may not totally clear out because the eye wall is not as well structured as it was a little while ago, but you'll see the wind calm down. But then, just like on Marco Island, you're going to get on that backside or the south side of the storm, and that surge event is going to start for areas like Barefoot Beach and Bonita Beach and areas right around North Naples. You guys are going to get on that. Here in Lee County, again, Lehigh Acres, there's LaBelle, Immokalee, Ave Maria, Golden Gate Estates. You have that easterly wind, and as you get into Orange Tree and the western side of Golden Gate Estates, we are looking at those very heavy winds. I was looking at that product that I showed you. I was looking at a couple of points that for some reason didn't show up on my timeline there when I was playing through, but I clocked 140 mile-an-hour winds out of that. So this certainly still means business. This hurricane is not weakening. It's perhaps getting a little less concentric, but the winds in this eye wall are not weakening. And in fact, they're right at 140 in a lot of the areas. In fact, the Naples Airport, 142. In Charlotte County now, we're starting to see that wind really pick up, and you can see those northern rain bands as well wrapping around through Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte, Cape Coral. You're getting some really heavy rain. This is on your right-hand side there in the box there. That's a live stream coming in from Bonita Springs. Again, wow, look at, you can see the debris flying around there. Those trees, thankfully, at least yet, are not. Okay, yeah, go ahead and take that full, and we can watch that for a moment, because as I mentioned, I was clocking those winds at about 140 miles per hour. I found several little pixels when I was doing my pixel queries at about 135 miles per hour. It's 5 o'clock. You're watching ABC 7 and NBC 2's continuing coverage of Hurricane Irma, and we continue to track this storm here on our live Doppler radar here at 5 o'clock. And we've got a new storm track on here that we want to show you here. And we're looking at, again, southern Lee County here, all the way into central Lee County. We're talking Bellaterra. We're looking at that time. How is this? Did somebody click like it? Go ahead and reset this, because this is an image that's a little bit old, and I don't want to read off the wrong times here. Again, we're tracking this. We've got 4 meteorologists, myself, Robert Van Winkle, Rob Duns, and Jim Dickey, all tracking this for you here at ABC 7 and NBC 2. There's the live update. We're looking at San Carlos Park. That's, again, this outer eye wall right in here. San Carlos Park at 5:06, so that's 5 minutes from right now. It's now 5:01. Miramar Lakes at 5:08, the Gulf Coast Town Center. Again, just to reiterate, these are arrival times of that heaviest of the wind, that 130, that 140 mile-an-hour wind. That's coming up at 5:12 for the Gulf Coast Town Center, into Corkscrew at 5:15. Immokalee, you're going to see that wind at 5:19, so about 18 minutes from right now. Fort Myers Beach at 5:24. Again, Fort Myers Beach right there. Eagle Ridge at 5:31. Gateway at 5:42. We've seen already images of not only the gusty winds, but some flooding happening in the Gateway area of Lee County. Pine Brook Lakes 5:42. Arborwood at 5:44, and Cypress Lake also at 5:44. So that's what we're looking at. It looks like this area right around Naples in the eye of the storm right now. But just like Marco Island, we're going to see those onshore winds start to turn as the eye passes to the north of Naples, and we're going to really start to see that storm surge event begin around southwest Florida, and it's probably already started around Gordon Pass and headed up Naples Bay. Robert.
We have the update, the 5 o'clock advisory now for Hurricane Irma. It's now a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 110 miles per hour. This is the latest advisory from the Hurricane Center. You can see and you know from watching us, it's sitting right over Lee County and Collier County, straddling the border. 110 mile per hour winds, gusting to 135. All information that we have been verifying all afternoon long, moving north at 14 miles per hour, the speed that we gave the storm several hours ago. So the Hurricane Center, in line with our observations here in Southwest Florida. 5 p.m. update at 110 mile per hour sustained winds. Now I want you to see the rest of the track. The rest of today and tonight we'll be dealing with IRMA as a Category 2 hurricane, moving right up 4175 over Tampa Bay by tomorrow morning, and then continuing to weaken a little bit as it moves into northern Florida by Monday. So it seems to be reasonable to assume that our forecast for you will be in line as we go through the evening, in that the storm continues to the north, and the storm surge will be the next part of the storm that we will deal with as we get to this evening. So through now through sunset and beyond, as we track the storm, a Category 2 hurricane now with winds at 110 miles per hour. So again, a very strong Category 2 hurricane, continuing to show signs of weakening a little bit, but not enough to where it's going to make an incredible amount of difference as far as what we're going to see the rest of the afternoon. So the live update from the Hurricane Center: Cat 2 hurricane, 110 mile per hour winds, continuing on a northerly course through our part of Florida. Let's go ahead and switch sources now. Give me a full screen look, if you please would do that, of Viper, and I'll get back to the tracking of the worst part of the storm there. As you can see now, as we look into the Viper computer, you can see the circulation still continuing to move over Southwest Florida, and now putting that eye wall into South Lee County. So I want to show you that spin there, and also show you that you folks in the Naples area and Marco Island and Everglades City, you can use your own judgment about coming out from your shelter and your place of hiding. The storm is not completely over, but it does look like that side of the storm would be presenting itself as a little bit less than what you just went through. So if you're still bunkered up in the Naples area, Marco Island, you can be a good, safe judge. See for yourself if we look out, if you can hear and see outside. So be safe, be your judge. But the storm continues to move northward. If you're hunkered down in Bonita and Estero, you need to stay there, because the worst of the weather is right over there. I believe we had David Hodges with a live signal from somewhere. I think I heard that. He's in Central Avenue in Fort Myers. So let's go to David Hodges. Wow, standing in ankle-deep water there. David?
Hey, Robert. Yeah, we're standing right outside the station, and Robert, we're standing right outside the station, and the water on Central Avenue in Fort Myers heading down to Fowler Street here has basically turned into a river. If you want to take a look at the whole entire scene, if I kept backing up, I'd have water almost up to my knees. As far as I can look northbound on Central Avenue, I see water standing over the street, and the wind is blowing so hard that it makes it look like just a river coming in my direction right now. And it's not just the water that's on the road. If we take a zoom out, you can see some of the trees are blowing very strongly in the wind. We have branches down all around me, some political signs that are somehow still standing. Right now, essentially every minute or so, a big gust of wind comes in, just kind of like this, where I actually have to kind of catch myself in order not to fall over. The wind is coming down extremely hard, kind of stinging your face in a way. But like I said, we are in a safe location. I'm just a few steps away from being underneath cover here right now. What else am I seeing around here right now? Behind me, there's just tons of branches that are down in this area. The palm trees, all the branches are blowing pretty hard in the wind, getting close to coming down. In fact, I already kind of see some damage to this metal gate that's here behind me. It's bending in the wind. Could be susceptible later on.
All right, David, thank you very much for that report. You can see in David's shot there, branches, trees, some damage is going on right there. And of course, copious amounts of rain. We're going to do a track of the amount of rain we've had so far. But again, let me get back to the weather that's moving into Lee County right now. David will probably want to bring him back in very soon. As you can see on the radar, that bad part that we've been tracking through Marco and Naples is now right over Bonita Springs and Estero. Pretty soon, San Carlos Park will be getting the brunt of that core, which we now know has over 100 mile per hour winds in it. We have had reports of wind over 130 miles per hour in gust form in Marco Island and Naples, at the Naples airport in particular, some damage. Kelly Burns was reporting earlier from the Naples airport. We're getting lots of information about damage across the area, but we're not seeing a whole lot of catastrophic damage from any of these pictures that we're looking at. So for the first blush, for the first look, this is a bad storm, but as far as a catastrophe, it doesn't appear to be shaping up that way anyway from the pictures. I'm going to qualify that. There's going to be plenty of damage reports coming out, don't get me wrong. But some of these pictures have been showing power lines still standing. Some of them have been showing trees that are still doing okay. Others, trees are down, and there's plenty of drama going on. Jim Dickey?
Yeah, can I make a point? I think you just saw some, this is the eye wall moving through Bonita, first of all, and you can see the strong winds. Bonita is right under the eye wall at this moment. So if you are still watching or if you're listening on your radio from Fort Myers, San Carlos Park, the winds are about to pick up. We just had easily our strongest gust we've had so far today at our station. We could hear it hitting the back wall of our station here, and those winds are headed your way again into Fort Myers. Estero, Bonita Springs, stay in your safe place. You still have at least 20 minutes, half an hour before the eye makes its way over your area. Now, we also showed you that picture of flooding, and a increasing concern, I think, is on the eastern side of the eye wall. It seems to be back building to the south, and some locations such as Lehigh Acres, Immokalee, Felda, Palmdale, I'm concerned that they're not going to actually get into the eye, and rather that heavy rain that's wrapping around the center of IRMA is just going to sort of back build and sit over you. So the threat for flooding is increasing in our inland communities east of I-75. Again, that would include Immokalee, Lehigh Acres. You're likely not going to see quite as strong of the gusts that we saw down in Naples, but the rain is going to come down heavily here over the next couple of hours.
Folks, we are getting plenty of reports of damage throughout Southwest Florida. There is an incredible amount of damage in Southwest Florida. Lots of problems, lots of trees, lots of damage throughout the area. The word that I used before was catastrophic damage, which are buildings that have collapsed and roofs that have peeled off, things like that. That's what I was saying I haven't seen in any of the pictures, but I am certainly telling you, and especially if you're listening on the radio, there is a tremendous amount of damage already coming in to the newsroom. We are really being hit hard by this storm. I was trying to make a point about the catastrophe adjective there. So with that in mind, we continue to track the main brunt of the weather now with that outer eye wall, which is still intact in the northern part over Bonita Springs and now moving up into Estero and into San Carlos Park. I'm going to go ahead and turn on other radar sources so we can continue to track this and see this over Bonita Springs, over Estero, over San Carlos Park. And one of the things that we're noticing is that what's happened here is the eye wall is also filling in a little bit on this side, over on the east side. You see that stretching down into DeSoto Boulevard and Golden Gate Estates. So that's telling you that this storm is still very powerful. The 5 o'clock update has come in. We've got 110 mile-per-hour winds. The cutoff is 111 from a 2 to a 3. So we're still dealing with a very strong Category 2 storm. Look at some of the video also playing on the side of our eye wall pictures there. Rob Duns?
Take that over. If the control room could take Links 1 graphics full, you'll be able to see some new video that has come into our NBC2 and ABC7 studios in the past hour. That is a view of the Naples area when the brunt of the eye wall went through. So this is exactly what one can expect to be happening right now over cities including Bonita Springs and inside the next 15 minutes, Estero and San Carlos Park, because of how the eye is moving toward the north. So that's a visual here. I'm told this was taken in close proximity to the Naples airport, which our colleagues in the newsroom have told us has suffered some damage. I also wanted to show you this video here. We're getting our first sights out of Cape Coral. This is from NBC2 viewer Dan Baxter, and this is in the Cape. And the Cape is still a ways away from being out of the worst of this here. The eye wall is still well to the south of Cape Coral as it moves over top of Estero areas, including Estero and Bonita Springs. So if you were to imagine a map of Southwest Florida right now, imagine where Corkscrew Road is and the intersection of Interstate 75. 95. That is about where the leading edge of the eye wall is right now. So Cape Coral has a long ways to go. As you can see what they're dealing with here over the past hour. That is brand new viewer video into NBC2 and ABC7. And let me leave you here with a live look right now. This is a live picture from the city of Bonita Springs. This again is from an NBC2 and ABC7 viewer who sent us this link. This is a live camera that he has with a battery backup in it, and you can see how poor the visibility is. You know, we're talking about the winds in the eye wall here in this particular perspective that you see in Bonita Springs in South Lee County, anywhere between 100 and 130 miles an hour. So a true hurricane at full force is rolling through Bonita Springs as we speak, and you can see it live there. I mean, for our radio listeners, it's difficult to describe. It's something you only think of in the movies or whatnot, but the visibility is exceptionally poor. Palm trees bending quite a bit, especially the frond parts of it. There's some brush, some shrubage in the front that is bending back and forth, and the most driving rain you could ever imagine. If you think of the worst severe thunderstorm you've been through in Southwest Florida, perhaps multiply it by 300, and then you'll get closer to what we're seeing right now in the city of Bonita Springs with these live stream videos coming out of from our NBC2 and ABC7 viewers. Stay safe.
The storm surge is going to continue to work back up the coast of our side of the state. It is starting to come back onto Marco Island. It's starting to work back into Naples and Naples Bay. This is going to be a process. It's not going to be a long process. It'll take a little while, but you'll be surprised at how quickly the water is going to come back in. So this is all relative to the wind direction and the wind speed. If we could make the ABC or the NBC7 wall hot, I can show you what I'm talking about here. Coming back on camera just to give you a larger perspective. The eye wall, let me show you a couple of things that I've been talking about. The eye wall has gotten a lot stronger over here as this continues to pinwheel in. So that northeast quadrant is verifying as a vicious piece of the hurricane for Ave Maria and eventually into Immokalee. You can see right there that this is going to really punch into Immokalee. So you folks stay in cover, get in cover, and stay there as this storm continues to work its way in. This is a very dangerous situation out here still, despite the fact that you just heard the hurricane is now a Category 2. That's a serious storm as the winds continue to come ever so slightly down. 110 mile per hour sustained winds right in through here. We are still anticipating wind gusts higher than that, and the Hurricane Center put that on the advisory as well. Gusts up to 130 certainly are possible, but the sustained winds at 110 can still, as you see, produce that kind of weather. Over my shoulder there. Oh my, look at that.
That's Sarasota Bay.
Oh, okay.
The water sucked out of Sarasota Bay and the manatee got stranded